The board will now come to order. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Schweitzer. Alderman Oldenburg. Alderman Cone. Alderman Narayan. Alderman Devoti. Alderwoman Velasquez. Alderwoman Saunier. Alderwoman Cox-Antwi. Alderman Browning. Alderwoman Clark-Hubbard.
Here.
Alderwoman Keys. Alderwoman Tyus. Alderwoman Boyd. Alderman Aldridge. Alderwoman Schweitzer. I'm sorry, President Green.
Present.
Alderwoman Schweitzer. Alderman Cone. Alderwoman Velasquez. Alderwoman Keys. Alderwoman Tyus. Alderwoman Boyd.
I think we're not hearing Alderwoman Tyus. I see her mouth moving, but I'm not hearing anything.
Alderwoman Boyd. Yeah, we're having.
We're not hearing Alderwoman Boyd either.
Yeah.
STLTV is working on it. Give us just 1 second and we will try to get the audio back going from those who are online.
Alderwoman Tyus, can you speak now? Alderwoman Tyus. Alderwoman Boyd.
Still not working.
can hear me, Alderwoman Tyus. I can. Yeah, I can hear you clear. I don't know why they can't. I'm supposed to get it while they're waiting. I'm supposed to get what we were talking about in a moment. So,
Alderwoman Boyd.
Yeah.
okay. So SLTV said they can hear is something wrong with you with the system.
Alderman from the second. It's been moved by the Alderman from the second, seconded by the Alderwoman from the 10th that we recess to figure out our technical difficulty. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We will go into a short recess while we figure out our volume issues. And we are back. Madam Clerk, if you could please continue with the roll call.
Alderwoman Schweitzer. Alderman Cone. Alderwoman Velasquez. Alderwoman Keys.
Here. Here.
Alderwoman Tyus.
Present.
Alderwoman Boyd.
Here.
Alderwoman Schweitzer. We have 14 members present.
A quorum being present, we will be led in an opening prayer by our very own acting clerk of the Board of Aldermen, Sharita Rogers.
If we can all stand. Father, in the name of Jesus, Lord, we thank you. We praise you. We magnify your name. God, as we pray, we're asking for direction. Direction to lead our communities, our constituents, oh God. I ask that you touch every member and their ward that's represented. Lord, I ask that you bring unity, peace, and wisdom among the members. Oh God, we ask that you bring peace in our communities, God. I ask that you touch every elected official. Oh God, the mayor, the comptroller, the board of aldermen, the president. Let peace be made among the decisions. Let unity and clarity be made. And Lord, as we sit here on this first Friday in February, celebrating Heart Awareness Month, Lord, that you would even comfort those that are battling with the disease. Comfort those, Lord, that lost loved ones to disease. Oh God, and we thank you for what you're going to do in this meeting. Lord, let it be productive and let your name be glorified. In Jesus' name, thank God. Amen.
Amen.
We will dispense with the regular order of business to take up the courtesy resolution calendar. Alderwoman from the 10th, you are recognized on the motion to suspend the rules for the purposes of introducing resolutions 236, 237, and 238.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I move that we suspend the rules for the purposes of introducing resolutions 236, 237, and 238.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 10th, seconded by the Alderman from the 14th, that we suspend the rules for the purposes of introducing resolutions 236, 237, and 238. This is a non-debatable motion. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Schweitzer. Alderman Oldenburg. Alderman Cone. Alderman Narayan. Alderman Devoti. Alderwoman Velasquez. Alderwoman Saunier. Alderwoman Cox-Antwi. Alderman Browning. Alderwoman Clark Hubbard. Alderwoman Keys. Alderwoman Tyus. Alderwoman Boyd.
Aye.
Alderman Aldridge. President Green.
Aye.
Alderwoman Schweitzer. Alderman Narayan. Alderwoman Tyus.
Aye.
We have 14 aye votes.
By your vote, you sustain the motion from the Alderwoman from the 10th. If you could please place resolutions 236, 237, and 238 at the end of the courtesy resolution calendar.
So noted.
If that, I would ask the Alderman from the 14th to approach the dais with your honored guests.
Madam Clerk, could you please read Resolution 236?
Resolution number 236, recognizing American Heart Month and National World Red Day. Whereas heart disease is the leading cause of death for men, women, and people of most racial and ethnic groups in the United States, claiming approximately 695,000 lives in 2021. That is 1 in every 5 deaths, with persons dying every 33 seconds from cardiovascular disease. And whereas coronary heart disease is the most common type of of heart disease, responsible for 476,000 deaths in 2021, and approximately 1 in 20 adults aged 20 and older are living with this condition, with about 2 in 10 deaths from coronary heart disease occurring in adults less than 65 years old. And whereas in the United States, someone has a heart attack every 40 seconds, totaling 805,000 heart attacks annually, and more than 350,000 cardiac arrests occur outside of the hospital every year, nearly 90% of which are fatal, leaving families and loved ones with little time to prepare or say goodbye. And whereas women are disproportionately affected by cardiovascular disease, with nearly 45% of women over the age of 20 living with some form of the condition, many unaware until it disrupts their health, livelihoods, and the well-being of those who depend on them. And whereas heart disease continues to touch countless lives across our community, impacting families every day through sudden loss, long-term illness, and ongoing caregiving responsibilities, creating emotional, financial burdens that ripple through entire households. And whereas in most cases, heart disease is preventable when people adopt a healthy lifestyle, which includes not smoking, maintaining a healthy weight, controlling blood sugar and cholesterol, treating high blood pressure, getting at least 150 minutes of moderate intensity physical activity a week, and getting regular checkups with healthcare providers. And whereas February has been designated as American Heart Month since 1964, created to reduce prevalence of heart disease and stroke by educating the public, advocating for policies that support heart health, and funding research into cardiovascular conditions, making it a time when all people, especially women, are encouraged to focus on their cardiovascular health. And whereas World Red Day is recognized on the first Friday of February, on Friday, February 6, 2026, individuals throughout our community are encouraged to wear red in solidarity with women whose lives have been forever changed by heart disease, bringing visibility to a condition that often strikes without warning. And whereas awareness and education are critical tools in combating heart disease, and anyone can save a life by learning cardiopulmonary resuscitation and recognizing the warning signs of heart attack and stroke. And whereas by participating in awareness efforts such as wearing red, showing photos using Go Red STL, and tagging AMHA Missouri, attending community health screenings, and supporting cardiovascular research, individuals can protect families, strengthen communities, and honor those affected by cardiovascular disease. And whereas it is fitting and proper that we recognize American Heart Month and National World Red Day to encourage all residents to take proactive steps toward heart health, supporting their lives with cardiovascular conditions, and to commit building a healthier and more informed community. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Aldermen of the City of St. Louis that we pause in our deliberations to recognize the impact of cardiovascular disease and to celebrate all those who work towards a healthier future. We further direct the clerk of this board to spread a copy of this resolution across the minutes of these proceedings and to provide a commemorative copy to this resolution to the end that it may be presented to those deemed appropriate by the sponsor. Introduced this 6th day of February 2026 by the Honorable Rasheen Aldridge, 14th Ward. Co-sponsors Megan Green, President of the Board, Honorable Ann Schweitzer, Honorable Shane Combe, Honorable Alicia Sanye, Honorable Jamie Cox Entwee, Honorable Michael Browning, Honorable Shamim Clark Hubbard, Honorable Laura Keys, and Honorable Pam Boyd.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I had some prepared words, but first I want to just say it is an honor to be able to present this resolution today and to be standing alongside our Madam Clerk, who continues to remind us and her family the importance of making sure that we raise awareness to Heart Awareness Month. We know the heart is the most important muscle in our body, and still to this day, heart disease remains the leading cause of death for men and women, and that's just not statistics, that is a fact. But the positive news about it, there is ways that this could be avoided, making sure that people get their heart checked, making sure that they have regular checkups with their doctor, and making sure that they check in on themselves and make sure that their heart is okay. Like I say, instead of presenting or giving a speech, more importantly, I want to give space to a family that has been impacted. Their family has been impacted by heart disease, and I'm just thankful and honored that I'm able to be in the same space and be able to present this resolution, not on just their behalf, but this Board of Aldermen who all signed on to this co-sponsor, to show love to them and to show love to so many others who continue to lose their lives due to heart disease. So to the Rogers family, thank you guys for being here, and thank you for allowing the board to be able to be part of your journey and your story, and we stand absolutely with you. And now I do want to pass it over to a member of the Rogers family.
Thank you all so much. As much as I stand before the board, I am still nervous. I want to thank you all for the resolution and how much it means to my family and I. We experienced a traumatic loss and a sudden loss of my sister. In 2008, it was a normal day. October the 1st, a normal day. I talked to my sister. We all talk like we always do. 5 o'clock, I called her to check on her like I always do. And her son said, "Oh, I think she's asleep." I'm like, "Well, wake her up. I got something to tell her." So he began to wake her up. He's like, "Oh, she's not waking up." I'm like, "Okay, well, just call me back." The next phone call I received was from him saying, "The ambulance is here working on my mom." And I told him, I said, "No, you're playing." He's like, "I'm serious." I said, "Let me speak with someone." And sure enough, they were there, responded to a call of a female that wasn't breathing, took her to the hospital. We followed, and we got the most devastating news that I've yet to receive. My sister, 33 years old, passed away from what we know now as heart disease. We didn't know before. She was a healthy 33-year-old woman. That Friday, we played a doubleheader playing softball. We went, we hung out, nothing was different. That goes to show that sometimes the signs are not there. And it affects African American women at a rate that's alarming. That made it, when she passed away, that made me realize I have to do something better for myself, my children. And I'm just getting emotional, but I'm trying to get myself together. Ever since then, I did my research and realized it's not only affected my sister, but so many others around. So as we commemorate my sister's passing and how she passed, we wear red every Friday, the first Friday in February, to recognize those who battling this disease and those who lost loved ones. And I thank you all for always answering the call. When I email, I appreciate it. Everyone responds, everyone just go into action, and I really appreciate it. And I thank my family for being here at the last minute. I knew Alderman Aldridge was doing the resolution. Of course, I didn't know he was going to give it to me, and we was going to have words. But I want to thank my nephew, Darius, my sister, Kim, and my daughter, Micaiah. Thank you all so much. And if you all want to say anything, I appreciate the board. You all like my family. You my work family, and I appreciate you very much. Thank you.
This time, I understand our mayor is also present with a proclamation, and so I would like to ask her to approach the dais as well. And then we'll go to further comments.
Good morning, Madam President and members of the board. I just wanted to come down here this morning and stand in solidarity with Wear Red Day and to offer a proclamation dedicating today, February 6th, as Wear Red Day in honor of heart health in the city of St. Louis. We're always doing.
Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Alderwoman from the 10th.
Thank you. I just want to get up and offer my love and support to the family, to our beloved Clerk Rogers. Just know that anything that I'm sure any of us can do to support you all as you continue in this journey without your beloved sister and aunt. But know that here using and being able to have the blessing of use this platform to not only have the move of God that we had through your sister and your mother and aunt today, but also use it as a form and a way and a tool to not only educate, but amplify this message and this voice. So please know, continue to know that anything that I can do for you all in this day and beyond in support of this mission and any other, I'm a phone call away.
Alderwoman from the 8th.
Thank you, Madam President, and Madam Mayor, for being here in solidarity as well. I just want to echo the Alderwoman for the 10th in recognizing, our Madam Clerk for being here and for being so personal and sharing this story with us all today. It certainly moved me, and I know it's moved many people watching it. And I think, you being able to share your story is what allows more people to be informed and to be educated about how serious this issue is, especially in the Black community and for Black women. So I thank you and I applaud you for being willing to stand here and do that. And I know many of us have already co-sponsored this resolution, but I would like to move that we embank it.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 8th, seconded by the Alderwoman from the 7th, that we embank resolution number 236. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Resolution 236 is now in bank, which means that every member of the board has now signed on as a co-sponsor. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, I want to thank you for coming today, for sharing your story, your courage, your testimony. I think, as many of you know, several years ago, she was then a friend, but she is now my sister-in-law, stood up here giving a very similar speech. She had a massive heart attack a couple days after giving birth to my nephew, and it is apparently very common and not something that is talked about very often, that in those days and weeks after giving birth, that the stress of that can put a lot of stress on your heart, and it's often something that doesn't have a lot of awareness to it. So every day we get to wear Red Day, and I wake up to a text message from her being thankful to be alive, and we are so thankful that she is still with us today, and uses her platform now to educate folks about postpartum heart health. So thank you so much for everybody who shares their stories, their testimonies. And if we all want to gather on the steps here for a picture in honor of Wear Red Day.
It's not on this.
Alderwoman from the 10th, you are recognized on the motion to adopt the courtesy resolution consent calendar.
May I please be added as a co-sponsor to Resolution 238?
Madam Clerk, please make note of that.
So noted.
I make the motion that we adopt the courtesy resolution consent calendar.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 10th, seconded by the Alderwoman from the 7th, that we adopt the courtesy resolution consent. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Introduction of honored guests. Alderwoman from the 10th.
Thank you, Madam President. In addition to having our Clerk Rogers family as my honored guest, even in their exit, I wanted to ask if we could have a moment of silence for Ms. Lana Stein. Ms. Lana Stein was a pillar in politics and community. I remember when I first ran for committee person in 2026, she was one of the first person they hand-delivered me to in the Skinker de Bolivar neighborhood, and then she became such a foundational piece as someone that was always there in Skinker de Bolivar meetings, her and her beloved dog, Maisie, and the amazing events that happen, the community that happens in the Skinker de Bolivar neighborhood, and even when she moved to a different area for her needs, she still stayed connected there, not just in the work she did with the Skinker Times and so many of the committees and events, but just calling and checking in. I'm going to miss some of the things that she would tell me when we first introduced about the history of politics, white and black. The books she's written are like blueprints to some things that we are still, unfortunately, dealing with today. So, again, I thank Alderman Browning, again, for signing on to the resolution and even bringing it to my attention, because that neighborhood in the city, in the region, and probably in many that have followed her across have suffered a loss in the mind and the wisdom of Lana Stein. So with that, I'm asking for a moment of silence for Lana Stein.
We could please stand and bow our heads for a moment of silence for Lana Stein. Thank you. Alderwoman from the 11th.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. My honored guest this morning is a police officer that I just met en route here while the system was down, and he was giving me direction, and he had an accent. And I was like, where are you from? And he said, I'm from England. So Officer Burrows, St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department by way of London, England, is my honored guest today. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further introduction of honored guests? Any further introduction of honored guests? Seeing none, Alderwoman from the 10th, you are recognized on the approval of the minutes from Friday, January 30th, 2026.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I move that we approve the minutes from Friday, January 30th, 2026.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 10th, seconded by the Alderman from the 14th. We approve the meetings from Friday, January 30th, 2026. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Report of city officials.
Report of city officials can be found in A, B, C, and D of the agenda and has been placed in a Google Drive for your review. Dear members of the board, I have the pleasure to submit the following individual for appointment to the Mental Health Board, Dr. Ivana Burkett. I respectfully request your approval of this appointment. Kara Spencer, Mayor.
Alderwoman from the 10th, you're recognized on Mayor Spencer's appointment to the Mental Health Board.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I move that we place Mayor Spencer's appointment to the Mental Health Board and the Health and Committee.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 10th, seconded by the Alderwoman from the 8th, that we send Mayor Spencer's appointment to the Mental Health Board to the Health and Human Development Committee. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Does anyone wish to take any bills or resolutions off any of our informal calendar? Anyone wish to take any bills or resolutions off of any of our informal calendars? Seeing none, first reading of board bills.
Board Bill 138, sponsored by Alderwoman Saunier, an ordinance declaring a moratorium until January 31st, 2031 on all approvals for non-municipal detention facilities proposed within the city of St. Louis, including the approval of building permits, special use permits, plan review, project plans, and development plans where the subject matter of the project is a proposed non-municipal detention facility. Board Bill 139, sponsored by Alderwoman Boyd, pursuant to ordinance number 70333, as amended by ordinance number 71394, an ordinance directing the Director of Streets to install speed humps to calm a flow of traffic in the 13th Ward. Board Bill 140, sponsored by Alderwoman Boyd, pursuant to ordinance number 70333, as amended by ordinance number 71394, an ordinance directing the Director of Streets to install speed humps to calm the flow of traffic in the 13th Ward. Board Bill 141, sponsored by Alderwoman Boyd, pursuant to ordinance number 70333, as amended by ordinance number 71394, an ordinance directing the Director of Streets to install speed humps to calm the flow of traffic in the 13th Ward. Board Bill 142, sponsored by Alderwoman Boyd, pursuant to ordinance number 70333, as amended by ordinance number 71394, an ordinance directing the Director of Streets to install speed humps to calm the flow of traffic in the 13th Ward. Board Bill 143, sponsored by Alderwoman Boyd, pursuant to ordinance number 70333, as amended by ordinance number 71394, an ordinance directing the Director of Streets to install speed humps to calm the flow of traffic in the 13th Ward. Board Bill 144, sponsored by Alderwoman Boyd, pursuant to ordinance number 70333, as amended by ordinance number 71394, an ordinance directing the Director of Streets to install speed humps to calm the flow of traffic in the 13th Ward. Board Bill 15, sponsored by Alderman Orion, an ordinance repealing the ordinance 62579 and removing Chapter 25.10 of the Revised Code of the City of St. Louis, codifying such ordinance. Board Bill 146, sponsored by Alderman Devotie, an amendment to ordinance number 56736, requested by the interim sheriff of the City of St. Louis, modernizing the manner in which the sheriff's office issues parking identification, identifying deputies operating personal vehicles during the performance of their duties. Board Bill 147, sponsored by Alderman Browning, an ordinance to amend ordinance number 60196, approved January 29, 1987, and to repeal ordinance number 64240, approved January 16, 1998, relating to the Central West End South Business District, a special business district established pursuant to the provisions of Section 71.790 through 7980 of the Revised Missouri Standard by repealing Section 2 of Ordinance Number 64240, which provides for the assessment and collection of an involvement tax not to exceed 85 cents per $100 assessed valuation of real property in the district, with an initial levy of that same rate but not to exceed $7,000, and enacting a Section 2 pertaining to the same subject matter but imposing an ad valorem tax not to exceed 85 cents per $100 excess valuation of real property in the district without limitation as to the total assessment, and containing effectiveness, severability, savings, and emergency clauses. That's the extent of the first reading of board bills.
Reference to Committee of Board Bills.
To the HUD's Committee, Board Bills 138, 147. The Public Infrastructure, Board Bills 139, 140, 141, 142, 143, and 144. To Public Safety, 145 and 146. That's the extent of reference to Committee of Board Bills.
Second reading, report of standing committees.
The following board bills were passed with a due pass recommendation. From the HUD's Committee, Board Bill 119, sponsored by Alderwoman Tyus. This board bill seeks to approve a Chapter 99 redevelopment plan and blighted study for the 8111 North Broadway development area. This project consists of renovation of a mixed-use building in the Baden neighborhood. The prospective redeveloper acquired the property for $20,000 and plans on renovating the building into an event space, offices, and apartment at the cost of $75,000. The redeveloper plans to utilize private funds for this project. Based on the recommended abatement map approved October 26, 2018 by the Board of Aldermen Resolution 104, the staff recommends a 10-year tax abatement based on 95% of the assessed value of the incremental improvement. Board Bill 121, sponsored by Alderwoman Clark Hubbard and Alderwoman Saunier. An ordinance repealing ordinance number 65937, Ordinance number 65746, ordinance number 65605, ordinance number 65424, ordinance number 65227, and that portion of ordinance 68097, section 6, that created the RPA 2 Phase 1 pilots and EAT accounts in Phase 1, respectively, dissolving the Special Allocation Fund for Southtown, the Aldermen Building, 1505 Missouri, Tech Electronics, 4200 Laclede, and City Hospital RPA 2 Phase 1 redevelopment areas, and respectively terminating the designation of certain portions of the City of St. Louis, Missouri, a redevelopment area, authorizing certain actions relating thereto, and containing an appropriation clause, a severability clause, and an emergency clause. Board Bill 122, sponsored by Alderwoman Clark Hubbard, an ordinance determining that the tax increment financing plans located in Exhibit A are making satisfactory progress, except as noted, under the proposed time schedule for completion of projects therein. Board Bill 123, sponsored by Alderman Browning. This board bill seeks to improve a Chapter 99 redevelopment plan and blighted study for the 4539 Linda Boulevard redevelopment area. This proposed bill does not allow for use of the eminent domain within the area. This board bill will allow for up to a 10-year tax abatement at 90% for market rate projects and up to 15-year abatement for LIHTC projects. Board Bill 129, sponsored by Alderman Devoti, an ordinance recommended by the Planning Commission establishing and creating a planned unit development district for City Block 4022 to be known as the La Colonia Square Planned Unit Development District and contain a severability and emergency clause. From the Budget Committee, Board Bill 126 Committee Sub, sponsored by Alderman Narayan, President Green, and Alderman Aldrich. An ordinance requiring all short-term rental operators to obtain a short-term rental business license, imposing a license fee of 3% of the rent charged for each short-term rental to be paid quarterly, authorizing the license collector to collect such license fee on behalf of the City of St. Louis and to administer and enforce the license requirement, designating the use of license fee revenue, directing the comptroller to establish an account to be known as the Affordable Housing License Fee Fund, and containing a severability and emergency clause. From the Health and Human Development Committee, Board Bill 133, sponsored by Alderwoman Boyd, Alderman Oldenburg, Alderwoman Saunier, Alderwoman Cox and Tweed, an ordinance recommended by the Board of Estimate and Apportionment, authorizing the Commissioner of the Department of Health or her designee on behalf of the City of St. Louis to enter into a FEMA crisis counseling program consulting agreement and to accept funds awarded, appropriating said funds in the amount of up to $78,255.60, authorizing the Department of Health to expand the appropriation funds for allowed purposes and containing an emergency clause. Board Bill 134, sponsored by Alderwoman Schweitzer, Alderwoman Boyd, Alderman Oldenburg, Alderwoman Saunier, Alderwoman Cox and Tweed, an ordinance amending the ordinance 72059, adopting the Forestry Division's regulation relating to weeds, native plants, and other vegetation in the City of St. Louis, containing definitions, reporting abatement, enforcement, severability, and emergency clauses for the purposes of clarifying regulations for abatement on occupied and non-occupied parcels. That's the extent of second reading and report of standing committees.
Report of special committees.
We have none.
Board bills for perfection consent.
Board Bill for Perfection Consent. Board Bill 99, sponsored by Alderwoman Saunier. An ordinance establishing three-way stop site at the intersection of Shenandoah Avenue and Virginia Avenue in the Tower Grove East neighborhood in the 7th Ward to regulate traffic traveling in all directions and contain a severability clause. Board Bill 130, sponsored by Alderman Browning. Pursuant to ordinance number 70333, as amended by ordinance number 71394, an ordinance directing the Director of Streets to install speed humps to calm a flow of traffic on various blocks in the 9th Ward. That is the extent of board bills for perfection consent.
Alderwoman from the 10th, you're recognized on the motion to adopt the board perfection consent calendar.
Thank you, Madam President. Members of the board, I move that we adopt the board bills for perfection consent calendar.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 10th, seconded by the Alderwoman from the 11th, that we adopt the board bills for the perfection consent calendar. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Board bills for perfection.
We have none.
We can dispense with line item 17, report of engrossment.
Board Bill 114, Board Bill 125, Board Bill 127, and Board Bill 87 as amended.
Third reading and final passage of board bills consent.
Board Bill 114, Board Bill 125, Board Bill 127. That is the extent of third reading and final passage of board bill for consent.
I think board bill 87 as amended is also there.
Okay. And Board Bill 87 as amended.
Point of order.
Alderwoman from the 12th, please state your point of order.
I thought that she was reading consent. I thought Board Bill 87 as I took it off of the consent calendar in the perfection, and that's why it's supposed to be on the third reading and final passage, and I don't see it under the consent.
Apologies on apologies on my version. It's under consent, but we will, Madam Clerk, if you place 87 as amended on the third reading and final passage of board bills.
So noted.
Madam President, I would like to note that on my version of the agenda that I got, it already is. So I guess there's a couple of, okay.
Alderwoman from the 10th, you're recognized in the motion to adopt the third reading and final passage of board bills on the consent calendar.
Thank you, Madam President. Members of the board, I move that we adopt the third reading final passage of board bills on the consent calendar.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 10th, seconded by the Alderwoman from the 11th, that we adopt the third reading and final passage of board bills on the consent calendar. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Schweitzer.
Aye.
Alderman Oldenburg. Alderman Cone. Alderman Narayan. Alderman Devotie. Alderwoman Velasquez. Alderwoman Saunier. Alderwoman Cox Antwi. Alderman Browning. Aye. Alderwoman Clark Hubbard. Aye. Alderwoman Keys. Aye. Alderwoman Tyus.
Aye.
Alderwoman Boyd.
Hold on. Aye.
Alderman Aldridge. President Green.
Aye.
We have 15 aye votes.
By your vote, you sustain the motion from the Alderwoman from the 10th to third read and finally pass the aforementioned bills. Third reading and final passage of board bills.
Board Bill 87 as amended, sponsored by Alderman Aldridge, President Green, Mayor Spencer, Alderman Cone, Alderwoman Schweitzer, Alderwoman Keys, Alderman Browning, Alderwoman Saunier, Alderwoman Clark Hubbard. An ordinance amending ordinance number 70846 to modify required terms to the cooperation agreement with the Land Utilization Authority to manage the Prop NS program, which uses funds raised through general obligation bonds and adjusting the caps on the amounts of bond proceeds available per property for future bond issuance, and requiring consumer price index adjustments to such caps, including severability and emergency clauses.
Alderman from the 14th, you are recognized on the third reading and final passage. Board Bill 87 as amended.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I move to third read and final pass Board Bill 87 as amended.
It's been moved by the Alderman from the 14th, seconded by the Aldermen from the 9th, that we third read and finally pass Board Bill 87 as amended. Alderman for the 14th, you may proceed.
I renew my motion.
Alderwoman from the 12th.
Madam President, members of the board, as I said last week, I'm not going to vote no on this program. I'm going to vote present. But Prop NS has a lot of problems. That's fine that we want to raise the amount we can spend on buildings. LRA has even more problems and has continued to have. But look at LRA, who they're selling properties to. We need to look at LRA, who they're selling properties to. We need to find out if the property has actually been rehabbed, because a lot of the stuff that we saw in private properties through the building division is that they were saying they were doing private properties and put out notices that private properties had been done, and then they were not done. The same thing is probably going on in Prop NS. There's just no check and balance because the fox is guarding the hen house. When I talked to Mr. Shelton, he said that they were going to do a different thing, that they were not going to do the building division, that they were going to do, I think somebody from SLDC. That's still the fox guarding the hen house. We need to have a program that is transparent about what is going on. There's things that can prevent this from happening, such as pictures. You can take pictures before, you can take pictures afterwards, you can submit invoices. There are all kinds of things. And then you need to be able to explain why you picked certain properties. Some of these properties have been on my request for demolition list in my ward. And then it's like all of a sudden they're on Prop NS list and we've done them. They're not getting sold. They were not a good property in the first place. We in the city of St. Louis are managing the taxpayers' dollars. We got to do a better job at it. And especially for those of us, I didn't have that many. Originally, when I got elected back in the 90s, the 20th ward didn't have less than 20 LRA properties or so. Then I collected, I became the first ward and we got a lot more. And now with me having 14 neighborhoods, we have thousands of LRA properties and lots. And it is it's disappointing to me that we do not make sure that we take every tax dollar and make sure it's spent to the best use, and to make sure that those properties we're doing, they should be, if we're doing the right thing, they should be off that list in a month or two and should be sold. They should not be sitting there for a long time and nobody wants to do them because you have picked the wrong properties to develop. And we need to be doing the best we can do to get rid of some of these LRA properties. I had the pleasure of knowing Miss Margaret Bush Wilson in her lifetime. And before she passed on, she complained to me profusely that LRA was not working the way that she had helped design it and help write the law, and that it was doing a whole different thing. And that is exactly correct. And we know that we had problems with people getting to buy properties that were well below the price through members of our boards that are no longer members. We have not done anything in the oversight to try to look at that and try to correct that. And that needs to be corrected. We need to take and look at the last 5 or 10 years of sales and then look at what they sold for, what the actual property should have sold for, who got the properties, what are they doing with the properties now? Because all we did is sell it to somebody else and it's just sitting there. It does not help the community to pass it from LRA to somebody else, and then it's still a piece of vacant, unused properties. LRA has a right to reclaim properties. Just let good old boys and friends get that property and they're sitting on it all through the wards. And then people are saying, well, it's no longer LRA's, it's private property, but nothing is happening to it. That was not the way this program, Prop NS, was designed, nor was LRA designed like that. And that is why I'm going to vote present, but I am going to be writing more letters, documenting some of the things, and looking for a substantial change to what is going on in both of these programs. And if it does not, then hopefully the media, somebody else can do just what they did with the private properties, is that they can expose what's going on. And for that reason, I want a roll call because I'm going to vote present.
Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, Alderman from the 14th, you're recognized to close.
Thank you, Madam President and members of the board. I want to thank all the individuals who's a co-sponsor and also your office, Madam President, for helping work on this bill. Justine was back at it again. Thank you, Ms. Hayden, for collaborating on this to get this done. I just want to talk about what this program is before we go to a final vote so that the people are aware of what Board Bill 87, as amended, is trying to accomplish. So what we're doing with Board Bill 87 is we're expanding the current Prop NS program. We are allowing for, instead of just looking at the funds going into single family or multifamily homes, we're looking at it more as square footage to ensure that more funds could be able to go into upgrading these the Prop NS homes that are being on the list. as well as we're tying these into inflations. As construction continue to go up, we want to make sure that as construction's going up and work is being done, that is tied to inflation. And lastly, we're expanding the scope of work that can be done on the Prop NS homes. One of the things that we heard a lot from individuals that was getting them was, it's great that a roof is on, it's great that the house is stabilized, but there is so much more work that is needed, especially when it comes to plumbing and more interior demolition. So this isn't a perfect program. I don't think there is one in the city, but what this ordinance tends to do is to try to make the program better. It's trying to make sure that the properties that are in wards such as mine that have Prop NS, that there is an expansion so that more work could be done. People can come in and develop these homes and actually get these beautiful brick homes back on roads so people can buy them. And with that, Madam President, again, I thank all my colleagues in the mayor's office as well as our office for the support. And again, I'll ask for everyone's favorable consideration on Board Bill 87 as amended.
It's been moved by the Alderman from the 14th, seconded by the Alderperson from the 9th, that we adopt the third reading and final passage of board bills, or that we adopt Board Bill 87 as amended. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Schweitzer.
Aye.
Alderman Oldenburg. Alderman Cone. Alderman Narayan. Alderman Devoti. Alderwoman Velasquez. Aye. Alderwoman Saunier. Alderwoman Cox Antwi. Aye. Alderman Browning. Aye. Alderwoman Clark Hubbard. Aye. Alderwoman Keys. Aye. Alderwoman Tyus.
Present.
Alderwoman Boyd.
No.
Alderman Aldrich.
Aye.
President Green.
Aye.
We have 13 aye votes, 1 no, 1 present.
By your vote, you sustain the motion of the Aldermen from the 14th to third read and finally pass the aforementioned bill. Reported the finally passed and signed by the President.
Board Bill 114, Board Bill 125, Board Bill 127, Board Bill 87 as amended.
All other business being suspended, the President shall in open session affix her hereto to the end that these may become law. First reading resolutions in reference to committees.
We have none.
Can dispense with line item 22. Second reading resolutions, committee reports and adoption.
We have none.
Can dispense with line item 23. Miscellaneous and unfinished business.
Tuesday, February 10th at 10 a.m.
Not announcement, miscellaneous
sorry.
and
We have
unfinished
none.
business.
We have none.
Can dispense with line item 25. Announcement.
Tuesday, February 10th, Legislation and Rules, 10 a.m. in the Kennedy Room. Friday, February 13th, full board meeting in the chambers.
Any further announcements? Alderman from the 4th.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. On Thursday, February 12th, Public Safety will meet at 2 p.m. in the Kennedy Room to take up Board Bill 145 and 1.
Madam Clerk, please make note of that. Alderwoman from the 10th.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. Please notice a HUD's meeting for Tuesday, February the 10th at 11 a.m. to hear Board Bills 128 and 147.
Madam Clerk, please make note of that. Alderman from the 9th.
Thank you. To add to the committee meetings, can we please add a Public Infrastructure and Utilities Committee meeting for February 11th at 3:30 p.m. in the Kennedy hearing room?
Madam Clerk, please make note of that. Alderwoman from the 8th.
Thank you. I would like to announce that we are officially in Mardi Gras season for the community in South City. So I would like to invite folks to join for these events. This weekend we'll begin with the 5K run in Soulard, and then we will also have Taste of Soulard taking place on Saturday from 11 to 5 p.m. Sunday will be the Pet Parade, so it's a great family-friendly event, and that will be taking place at 1 p.m.
Alderman from the 14th.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. It probably was announced and I was talking, but I do just want to maybe double say it. This Wednesday, Budget and Public Employees will be meeting at 10 a.m. to hear Board Bill 98, sponsored by Alderwoman Laura Keys. Thank you.
Madam Clerk, please make note of that.
So noted.
And I also believe we have a Transportation and Commerce Committee scheduled for Monday or Tuesday.
Yes, Transportation and Commerce will have a meeting on Tuesday at 9 a.m.
Okay. Madam Clerk, please.
Where is it located? In the Kennedy room or what?
Location is TBD to my knowledge.
Okay. Alderman for the 14th.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I almost forgot one more important announcement. This week, one of my most favorite alders, he's kind of my best bud. We have such a love relationship. He celebrated another year around the sun. And I would just love all my colleagues to give my best friend, Tom Oldenburg, a happy birthday. I love you, Oldenburg.
Any further announcements? Alderwoman from the 7th.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. Happy belated birthday to Alderman Oldenburg. And I also just wanted to say here for all my colleagues and members of the public that we do have a planning commission meeting coming up where we are going to be discussing some proposed framework and regulations around data centers, how much we love that topic. So I just wanted to make sure we know that that is coming up and that you can view that meeting online, and you also have the option of publicly commenting if you're a member of the public that's interested in that conversation.
And that's Wednesday at 6 p.m.?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Any further announcements? Any further announcements? Seeing none, Alderwoman from the 10th, you're recognized on the motion to excuse.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. All members were present this morning.
Alderwoman from the 10th, you're recognized on the motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I move that we adjourn until Friday, February 13th, 2020.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 10th, seconded by the Alderman from the 14th, that we adjourn until Friday, February 13th, 2026, in the Board of Aldermen chambers at 10 a.m. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Are adjourned.